I have a little bruise on my face that I tried to cover with makeup, but clearly it didn't work. So we're not going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about musicals. It's been a while that I have felt like we're going back to this kind of golden age of musical theater and cinema, which is a very interesting thing, don't you think? If you think that 10 years ago people would have scoffed at the idea that two of the highest grossing films, the biggest box office of the season, would be musicals, you realize how funny, how interesting, how nice, to be honest, because I love musicals. It is that two musical films are the highest grossing ones that, you know, are going right now, which are Aladdin and Rocketman, which are both like really good. You shouldn't really trust my opinion around that because I absolutely love musicals, so any musical that I ever watch, I'm just gonna be like, oh, this is perfect. I just really find it a very complete art form. Musical theater, musical cinema, musical things. Music is amazing, and if you couple that with, you know, high production values with people dancing and colors and everything, I really like detail. I really like things that are saturated with color. I like over-the-top things. So musicals are like perfect for me. And it makes me really happy that they're returning. It's great to see that their popularity is rising again. And it's also interesting to understand why. I can't quite answer that question very correctly, but I'll try. It's not as of today. I think that a lot of movies, a lot of things have been coming out that have contributed a lot to where we are right now. And it's also nice to see this way in which people are able to communicate, this way in which people are able to tell a story without necessarily being afraid to tell it in a stylistic, is that how you say it? With their personal styles, or not necessarily personal, but with a defined style that doesn't necessarily take away from the truth or the story that is being told. I talk about that specifically in Rocketman. I understand that the fact that Elton John is still alive contributed a lot with that film being relatively accurate in telling his life. The fact that he was a producer also helped with that. And, you know, Freddie Mercury is not alive. And I wouldn't even go as far as saying that Bohemian Rhapsody is exactly a musical. There are a lot of musical moments. It is a musical. It's just there are not that many people bursting into song, and I really like people bursting into song. Again, I like over-the-top things. I like things that are just Also, it's fun because I think a lot of this, the popularity among young people mostly, Gen Z and millennials, comes from Disney, yes, but also comes from High School Musical, now that I think about it. This wasn't actually on the little thing that I did. I didn't do a little thing to write this video actually, but you understand what I mean. I had the ideas, I just realized it. I think it comes a lot from High School Musical. The fact that we all grown up, that a lot of us have grown up listening and watching to a musical with over-the-top characters and a lot of actually kind of really well-made choreography and such, did influence that. Disney has a lot to do with why we love musicals so much right now. Because, you know, they do musicals. They never stopped really doing musicals. They did for a while. Toy Story, a lot of the Pixar movies are not musicals. But when they came back with Frozen, it also brought a lot of this musical frenzy back. I don't think since the 30s or 40s we've had, you know, songs from musicals playing on the radio and being on the top charts, which was the case with Let It Go by Demi Lovato. Okay, it wasn't the exact version that was in the movie, but still it was a song from a musical. And later, in a lesser extent, with How Far I'll Go by Alessia Cara. And also Hamilton, which has amazingly and greatly influenced what we're living right now. The fact that people finally got to say, okay, there's this classic model of musicals, and there's this thing I want to do, and do it is very important. The focus that exists in that art form also towards diversity, I think it has a lot to do with, you know, I don't want to be that guy, but musicals, musical theater especially, is very heavily influenced by LGBTQ culture, because, like it or not, LGBTQ people are very inserted in the art world in general and very heavily inserted in theater. And the fact that gay culture, the lesbian culture, trans culture, you know, this whole drag culture has a lot of theatricality. Really, English is not helping me today, is it? And, you know, the rise of influence of drag culture also did have an effect, or maybe not an effect, but it did grow along this new rise of Broadway. I think it has a lot to do with social media, the way that now things are spread. Now people can actually watch theater and know about theater from very far away. And I'm not even talking about new plays or young plays like Hamilton, although Hamilton had a lot to do with it. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think, started doing his stuff in general and posting it on YouTube. I'm not sure about that though. You should probably check that somewhere. Even so, I don't think it is the whole extent of the thing, because one of these days I was watching the Magic Flute, not the whole thing, just an the aria of the Night Queen. I think that's how you say it in English. Queen of the Night, the Queen of the Night. I had never watched it. I've heard it. I think most people who had those obligatory music classes in school have, heard it. But I watched it and I was just like, it's so nice, and the fact that you can watch those things and be like, is a big thing, because you see how complex of an art form it is. There are the bands, there's the song, there's the singing, there's all the drama behind it. And I mean, I'm not an American, I like drama. I've grown up watching telenovelas. I like drama. Of course, I'm not sure why, I'm not sure if that's the actual reason, and I'm just, bringing possibilities, options, but still. It's just that I find it so fun. I love musical theater specifically. I love musical cinema too. It's all very complete. It's all very, all over the place in a good way. And I like that it's not on cinema or on theater. A lot of TV series are now starting to do it, because it wasn't a thing that was a thing. But now we have Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, we have Empire, we have Gypsy, which I think was the first one that started it. In movies also, we've had Mamma Mia, the second one. I think when the first one was released, we were in this musical fever that we are now. Even Les Miserables, the French one, the French Revolution one. I think that one also wasn't the fever that we're now. I think it was 2012, but still. And then came The Greatest Showman, which, as much of a problematic message it passes, because it is a very problematic message, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. Just Hugh Jackman. I like Hugh Jackman, and the songs are great, and it's awful. I'm sorry, I know it's awful, but I like it. But yeah, also watch Aladdin and Rocketman and tell me what you think. I specifically love Rocketman a lot. I really like Elton John, so maybe that's why. Musical in general, I think, mostly is living this golden age in America. I think a lot of countries over the world are also to some extent living this golden age of musicals. It's rising popularity all around, and it's suddenly cool again to like musical theater, which is something that I find really interesting from, this moment specifically that we're living in. A lot of things that were considered uncool are now suddenly great, which I find really nice. This subversion of, cultural values, social values, and other values? I want to know what you think. Why do you think musicals in general are so popular again? What do you think caused it? Do you think it has something to do with the moment we live in? Do you think it has a lot to do with new ways, experimenting in new forms of musicals? Do you think it has more to do with social media? What do you think? I really want to know. And please, actually comment this time if you watch it. I'm not sure you will, but if you do watch it, actually comment this time, because you haven't been commenting. I'm bitter, okay? I'm a very bitter person, so comment. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.